What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back. Today, we've got another release from EXO-6, one of their 1/6 scale Star Trek figures, Admiral James T. Kirk, from the original motion picture film. Now, as of right now, this figure came out this morning, and it's already showing sold out on EXO-6's website, which I think is a first for any of their releases. But I'm sure we'll be able to get it elsewhere, so stick around. Let's still deep dive what we're seeing in the photos. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe if you can, and let's get into it. So after months of teasing from Nanjin, the developer at EXO-6, we are finally getting a chance to see Admiral James T. Kirk from the original motion picture Star Trek film. Now, it's an exciting time because we just recently got a 4K release of this film. I actually got a chance to see this in theaters again, which honestly astounded me. I never thought I'd get a chance to see this film in theaters. And with the update in some of the graphics, in some of the visuals, in some of the running performance of the film itself, it definitely made me want to bring home a 1/6 scale figure, especially of Kirk, but honestly of the entire cast. Now with EXO-6, we've been lucky. We've got a lot of figures from them over the last year, and this has been one that's been teased for quite a while. So let's pull up the figure images and take a better look. Now, for most of you not totally familiar with Star Trek, the reason this outfit doesn't necessarily look like a Star Trek uniform is it is from the very first film. Again, the original motion picture. Now, that's after a decade of leaving the small screen. Captain James T. Kirk, or William Shatner, of course, returned to his role as Admiral James T. Kirk for that huge, big-budget, theatrical motion picture that honestly changed the Star Trek franchise forever and helped spawn some of my favorite films, such as The Wrath of Khan, The Search for Spock, The Undiscovered Country, and a few more in there. Those three are still my favorite, I would say, though. But this outfit specifically is really cool in my opinion. It's different. I think it'll definitely have some shelf presence. Something that Nanjin has stated very clearly in his posts are that even though, depending on the screen that you may have watched this film on originally, sometimes it can look gray. It's not. At least not for this figure release. It is green and white. So if that bothers you, definitely don't buy this figure. It's not going to be gray and white, it will be green and white. That is actually correct based on the film itself, but I think it's interesting to note that for some of us who may not have seen more recent updates of the film, you may in your mind's eye see it as a gray and white suit, similar to what I had originally, to be honest with you all. I thought it was gray as well. So I think that's interesting. It doesn't detract from the figure to me. I think that the outfit itself is tailored really beautifully. I really like the material choices that they've used. I like the HOM emblem on his chest. I think that looks fantastic. The head sculpt, I think, is still an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I definitely see the likeness to William Shatner here, and to James T. Kirk in that kind of stage of his life, especially at certain angles. EXO-6 has been doing their sculpting in a way that you definitely know who the character is 100%, and this is definitely no slouch. Is it perfect? I would say no. There's a little bit of softness in the skin texture, a little bit of softness in the hair sculpting, but honestly, I think it's actually really passable. I'm not totally convinced that we'll ever see another 1/6 scale version of this character in this specific uniform, really ever again. Now, does that justify buying something that's not 100% quality? Well, it depends on you and depends on your budget, of course. This figure is going right now for $175 plus $25 shipping. That's on the EXO-6 website. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, this figure came out today. On EXO-6's website, it's already showing as sold out. Now, I don't sell for any website specifically, period. However, I did pull it up before I made this video. Sideshow Collectibles still has a pre-order window open for this figure. So if you missed it on the EXO-6 website and you're feeling disappointed, potentially go and lock in a pre-order with Sideshow right away, or with some of the other distributors that may end up getting this in your area. Sideshow typically, for me, I'm in Canada, so it's a safe bet for the most part that I know I'll get the figure if I order it. However, what's undisclosed is how many of these they're actually going to make. In the description for the figure, it does say that there is only a limit of 2 per customer, and apparently we're going to get a 21-day delivery turnaround from order, which is incredibly fast. Clearly that means this figure is pretty much ready to go, but it also means that for us waiting for this figure now for a couple months, we might have it before the holidays, which is really, really exciting, and I'm excited for the collectors getting this figure. What does this figure actually come with? So, just like some of the other releases, it does have the 30 points of articulation, a realistic portrait of Kirk. It also has an authentically scaled biomonitor that is permanently affixed to the belt area. The boots are a soft plastic boot, sculpted to match and cut the style of the original movie footwear, a display base, which is that hexagonal display base, and of course just provides some support to the figure. If you use bases, I don't typically use bases, so that's just kind of a whatever piece for me. It doesn't really look like it comes with any extra hands, which is interesting for a 6 scale figure, or really any weaponry, which is also odd. I mean, obviously Kirk doesn't have a ton of weaponry in this film, but it's unique that this is one of the first EXO-6 releases we've seen that are really scaled down in terms of the accessories. Now, the price does match that, I would think. It also does come with a 1-to-1 scale movie accurate Delta badge with a magnetic back, and that's courtesy of fan sets. I think that is a really cool inclusion in this set. Having a Delta badge I think is very cool. It's something that I would display with the figure, and I think for the film and for the money, I think that's worth it. Now, is this figure coming to my collection? Good question for myself. I'm not totally convinced I want it that badly, and only because I'm a fan primarily of the next generation films, and I recognize that if I get into the original motion picture, this could be a slippery slope. There's a lot of other figures still coming from this line, I think, and you can't have, in my opinion, some of the other figures without Kirk, right? But because it's sold out so quickly on EXO-6 and will likely sell out now relatively quickly everywhere else, I'm not convinced that I want to jump on the fear of missing out train and get this before I've seen one in hand. Having said that, I do think the figure is well priced. I think it looks pretty good. I think that the badge that it comes with is a cool accessory. It feels a little cannibalized in terms of accessories, but I don't know what else you would really need to display Kirk with other than potentially some companions, and I'd like to see from EXO-6 what else they're planning to do under this lineup. But I'd also love to hear from you guys in the chat below. I love hearing from my Star Trek friends out there. What are your thoughts on this figure? Are you picking it up, or are you picking it up based on the FOMO? Is this figure going to increase in value because of its rarity down the line? Is it going to become one of those grail pieces that we all talk about? Hard to know. I think it's going to really depend on what the quality looks like once it's in hand. Even in the description, it does say the figure may vary in quality, which is pretty standard for most 6-scale releases. But we're not getting a ton of photos here, and the photos that we are seeing, some of them are really flared out and blurry, which has been standard for EXO-6 when it comes to some of their figures. What bothers me about that is it does detract from my ability to tell if the figure actually looks good or if it looks a little bit photoshopped. So that remains to be seen, but again, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Are you picking this figure up or not? Why or why not? At the same time, this is the Ben Thomas Show. I always appreciate you guys tuning in for the Star Trek segments, of course. If you guys liked the video, hit the like button for me, of course. Smash the subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll catch you guys on the next Star Trek EXO-6 figure release or preview video. Catch you on the next one.